Okay, so tell me what you noticed. Brian.
I noticed that both Jairus and the woman, that says in the text, struggled with fear.
Yes, that's right.
One of them, don't be afraid, and the other one says she was afraid.
That's right.
And they seem to both turn into faith.
Excellent. Yep, they both have fear, and in both situations, they end up having faith. That's where we end up. So this theme of fear and faith is in both stories, right? What else did you notice? Anything, by the way, is game, as you see in there.
They both seem really humble, like one fell at his feet and one felt humble.
Yes, that's right. They both approach him. In fact, she falls at his feet when she comes back, right? So that phrase actually gets repeated, that they both end up coming to him, falling at his feet. That's right. Good.
They both were sure that they were going to get healing. Not maybe, but they were like...
Yes, they both had some conviction that this was the one to go to for healing. Absolutely. Good.
Jairus asked, the woman just sneaked up.
Okay, right. So there's some differences too. Absolutely. Jairus asks, and the woman comes secretly, right? She's hoping to get in and get out. All right. I thought I saw another hand back.
Well, actually, my thought was what she just said. The woman felt that if she could just touch him.
Right.
That was her faith, just that touch. Whereas the other one wanted him to come and touch.
Okay.
The faith was different, but they both had faith.
Right. Good. Very good observation. Yeah. Good.
Well, it was also very risky for both of them because he's the leader of the synagogue.
Okay.
His reputation's on the line. And she is unclean because she's bleeding.
Right.
She shouldn't even be around all those people.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. He's a ruler of the synagogue. He's in the upper echelons of the society that he lives in. And so he is coming, though, to Jesus, who isn't really in good relationship with the leaders, with the Pharisees, with the scribes, but he comes, right, to ask Jesus, and there's a risk there. The woman, and it's interesting, did you notice how much detail Jesus gives about the woman's story? Isn't that fascinating? In fact, he spends more time on that than he does on Jairus, doesn't he? If you look at what Mark wants us to know, he really wants us to focus on this woman. He tells us that she's been bleeding for 12 years, that she's gone to all the doctors, and what's happened to her? She's suffering even more. She's lost all the money that she had, and she's unclean. In Leviticus, if she's following what she's supposed to, she would not be able to go and worship. And how long has she been like this? 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. So we can imagine what kind of desperate situation she was in. Now, knowing this might help us then to understand why she comes to Jesus the way she does, right? She doesn't really want to be noticed, but she risks getting other people unclean. What's going to happen if anybody happens to notice her trying to work her way through the crowd? Yeah, exactly. So she's taking a huge risk going to Jesus. What else?
But you put that 12 years up there. I don't know time, but it's interesting that the daughter was also 12 years old.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. I think Mark wants you to notice that. Exactly. Well, there's one other thing that's interesting. What is Jesus call? Oh, I'm sorry.
Jesus was very gentle with both of them. There was no recriminations, no reproaches, no criticism of any kind with either of them at the far ends of the spectrum, social spectrum.
That's right. Absolutely. He deals with them exactly where they are, and you see him being very gentle and moving them each along, doesn't he? Right? What does Jesus call the woman? Daughter. Who did Jairus come for? His daughter. Isn't that interesting? Now think about Jairus going through the crowd with Jesus. Jairus, they're both pretty desperate, right? You see a real sense of desperateness in both of them. Jairus believes that his daughter is at the point of death. So how is he going through this situation with Jesus? Right? And Jesus says, daughter, to the woman who had the flow of blood. What else? I have 5 more minutes. Doing well, yes.
And there is an aspect that we can see in Jesus that he's never too busy to help people with their needs.
That's right. Absolutely. Talk about being present to the situation, right?
The woman touched Jesus, and she's unclean. She touches Jesus, and that ceremonial situation didn't take place. So.
That's right. Yes, I mean, in terms of us as a reader, what does Mark want us to get out of that? It doesn't go that direction anymore, does it? Jesus makes clean what was unclean. His cleanness spreads out to others.
But our uncleanness doesn't spread up.
Yeah, exactly. Our uncleanness is unable to spoil his cleanness. Yes.
It seems like wherever he went, there was a large crowd. They kept saying everyone crowding around.
Yes.
But why at the end did he say he gave strict orders for not anyone knowing?
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that weird? Did you guys wonder about that? I mean, what did he do? What do you think? Do you think Jairus' daughter stayed in? Just got her meals in and never came back out? No, I'm sure she came out. Yeah, exactly.
The command from Jesus in both situations basically is be free from your fears. And so he's freeing them from that suffering of anxieties and fears and commanding them to believe.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here. Isn't this fun? I mean, there's just a ton of stuff in here, and we're not going to be able to get to it all. But I will try to say a couple things more about this. Jesus feeds their faith in both situations. The woman could have gone off and been healed. She knew immediately that she was healed. But Jesus stops and he seeks her out. And he won't let his disciples, I just love his disciples here, who are being extremely practical and believe that they know what's going on. You look around at all the people here and you're asking, who touched me? Okay. But Jesus isn't thwarted by that, right? He finds her. And I think part of the question to ask is, what does this show us about Jesus that he wants a real interaction with her? What does he want her to know about him that she might have gone away with still thinking because he didn't have this interaction? Was she going to think that she had stolen something from him? Was she still going to have questions about her own goodness, lovability, whatever, because she had just taken this and left? Jesus has her come in front of everybody, and she tells her whole story. And he says, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. So what does Jesus want for her? What does Jesus want for us? I mean, as we think this through in terms of applying, I know I'm kind of racing through this. But if I was to ask you in terms of applying this for yourself, do you take the time to hear God's word, daughter, son, go in peace? Do we think that Jesus is concerned about our going in peace? Do we understand what a priority that is for him? That he feeds people's faith in who he is. And then we have the story with Jairus, where Jesus' immediate response. Jairus thinks that Jesus can do so much and then no more, right? There's a limit to what Jesus is capable of doing. But Mark wants us to see, no, there isn't. In both of these situations, Jesus is the last word. Jesus relativizes everything that happens around him. He is the one who gets to say to the woman who she is. He is the one who gets to say to Jairus what I can do in this situation and who I am. Now, one of the things, if we had studied Mark, again, all the way through, is that a lot of what we see in Mark is that Jesus is always feeding people's faith. He's constantly giving them a word. And he gives them a word so that they can respond and trust, and then he can give them more word, give them more of himself. And I think what you see here then is the daughter comes back, the woman comes back, and Jesus feeds her faith. He gives her more word. Think about how she leaves now with that word compared to if she left without having this interaction with Jesus. So to get to your question about the fact that he tells everybody to go out, what you see is Jesus gives Jairus a word, but he also gives the mourners a word, doesn't he? He says, "Why are you mourning? The child is not dead, she's sleeping." He gives them an opportunity to see, because I'm here, because the kingdom of God is broken in, I change the way we view this situation. You think it's death, it's not. But how do they respond? They laugh at him. So he puts them outside. That's the only word at this point they're going to get. They're not ready for more word. So what does the girl become? She becomes a living parable. Because when she gets out and walks around, they're saying to themselves, was she really asleep? I thought she was dead. I knew she was dead. What does this mean? Well, where are they going to have to go to find out? They're going to have to go to Jesus. And that's what a parable is for. A parable points us to Jesus. That's the whole purpose of it. It remains just a parable. Otherwise, we still kind of go, I don't really get this. It doesn't make any sense. So I think that's really why. But again, you'd have to have seen the whole context. Okay, thanks so much for this time. I really appreciate it. I have done some Bible studies online. If you're interested in looking at them. My greatest heart desire is for people to know and see the goodness of God. I can give you that website if you're interested. Yeah, it's trinitystudycenter.com. And I also I have been working this year on writing a study book on James. And just to give you an example of how this sort of thing affects me, I have James on my website. And I thought this will be real easy. I'll just take the stuff I've done and I'll make it into a book form with questions in case people want to use this in groups that they're in. And I've ended up having to take my whole year on it because I start looking at it and God addresses me in James in deeper. I find myself going even deeper than I ever did. I'm seeing connections I didn't see before. And I'm looking at what I did in the past. I'm thinking, oh, that's good. It's still good. But, oh, there's so much more here. And I'm ending up having to take the entire year to write this. But I have the first chapter with me if you're interested in looking at it. This is really just a resource. If you don't want it, I won't be offended. But I just brought some things along in case you were interested. Yes? It's trinitystudycenter.com. Okay, well, thank you again so much for your attention. I really, really appreciate it.